after this. Okay, thank you everyone for joining today's meetup. My name is Abbas Ali and I'm the host for Laravel Nagpur Meetup. And this month I will be the speaker as well. And I'll be presenting, it won't be a presentation, but I'll walk you through on how to build a Slack bot using Laravel. So how many of you use Slack in your day-to-day work? Can you please raise your hands? What about others? Do you guys use Slack at all, or have you heard about Slack? How many of you have heard about Slack but not used it? Okay. So Slack is a communication tool primarily used by businesses. A lot of companies for their internal communication, they use Slack. It is like Microsoft Teams, if you have used Microsoft Teams. So it's one and the same thing. Teams is developed by Microsoft and Slack is built by some other company. Slack is more popular amongst the small to mid-sized companies because of its highly intuitive user experience and user interface. So let me quickly show you what Slack is. Let me share my screen. Just a moment. Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay. So this is Slack. It is a communication tool wherein people from a particular company, they can join the Slack workspace and then communicate amongst themselves. They can create channels and send messages in common channels, and multiple people can join a single channel. Slack provides the ability wherein you can create something called as Slack apps or bots. It extends the functionality of Slack. So if let's say if you have your own use case, if you want to extend Slack, if you want to add some functionality which is not already there in the Slack, then you can create your own small Slack app, publish that app, and then you can use that app inside of Slack. So what we are going to do today is we will be building a very simple Slack bot. We will call it birthday bot, wherein you can record your birthdays in Slack, and then you can see which other users from your workspace, from your company have added their birthdays. So it will list all the birthdays, and then it will automatically send messages as and whenever there's a birthday on any particular day of any user of your workspace. So all these things we are going to build today. It may happen that we don't get enough time to finish all this in one meetup. If that happens, if let's say after 45 minutes we are not able to finish this, then we are going to continue this talk in the next month's meetup as well. So let's see how much we can cover today. Okay. So let's get started then. All good with everyone? Can you please raise your hands? Did you understand what I said till now, everyone? Okay. So what we are going to do is we'll build something called as slash command in Slack, wherein if you're looking at my screen, you can Slack already has some commands, built-in commands. We will add our own command and we will call that command as, let's say, birthday. And then this command can take inputs. So let's say it can take an input of my birthday, for example, 5th November 1980. And once I send this command, hit enter, it will record my birthday and it will remember my birthday then. Right now, there's no such command because this is not a built-in command. We are going to build this command. That is why it is giving me an error. Slash birthday is not a valid command. So now let's see how we can build this command. Another thing that I will be doing is we'll be building another command called as slash birthday, and it will take an argument called as list. And when someone enters this command, this message in Slack, then what it will do is it will reply with a list of all the birthdays in your workspace. So let's say let's say your workspace has 10 users, and from those 10 users, if 5 users have recorded their birthdays previously, then this will show the birthdays of those 5 users. Okay. So let's see how to build this custom command now. So the first thing that you need to do if you want to build a custom command, if you want to build a Slack app, is to create the Slack app on the Slack's developer portal. So let's go to Slack's developer portal. This is the Slack developer portal. URL is api.slack.com/apps. You need to log in with the same user that you're using on Slack. So I'm logged in as Abbas in Laravel Nagpur workspace. So I'll be logging in with the same user here to build the app. So let's create the app here. It will ask if you want to use a manifest file to create our app, or if you want to build the app from scratch. So let's select from scratch. Let's give our app a name. So let's say we will call it birthday bot. And if let's say if you're a part of multiple workspaces in Slack, one user can belong to multiple workspaces, multiple companies. If that is the case, then you will see a list of all those workspaces in here. For now, we want to build this bot. We want to build this app for Laravel Nagpur workspace. So we will select Laravel Nagpur, and then we will click create app. This will give you some basic information about the app, like its ID, date of creation, client ID, and all these secrets. All these will be used by our Laravel app to communicate with Slack. The first thing that needs to be done is, let's say I'm a user of this Slack workspace. When we create this app is created, but it will not be available by default in our Slack workspace. It will not be available here by default. To make it available, you need to install that app. To make it available, you need to install that app. And the way installation is done is through OAuth authentication. I believe most of you are already familiar with how OAuth works. So I'm not going to go into much details about it. So for that, we will configure the app and set up the OAuth configuration. So you need to go on this screen, OAuth and permissions, and then you need to first add redirect URLs. So how OAuth works, the user starts from your website. It goes to the OAuth provider's website, which is Slack in this case. Then the user will log in on Slack platform, and then he will be redirected back to your Laravel application. So when he comes back to your Laravel application after logging in Slack, that is the redirect URL he will be sent back to. So let's add a redirect URL here. I'm providing the URL which will be my local URL for this Laravel application. So I'll call it birthdaybot.test. Okay, and I will save it. Then in OAuth, what you need to do is the second thing, you need to provide scopes. Scopes are like permissions. Whenever any authentication happens, then what all things from Slack that particular authenticating token can read. That is called as scopes. So let's add few scopes that will be needed by us for our app. The first scope that we will be needing is Teams read. This will help us read the team. Team is nothing but Slack's workspace. This will help us read workspace's name and ID that we'll be needing in our case. Then we also need to read user. We want to know user's name, the user who is authenticating or the user who is adding their birthday. We want to know their name and email and everything. So we are adding users read permission as well. Then we want to read channels as well. So this will help us in fetching all the available channels in Slack. So our Laravel app can use Slack's API and fetch a list of all the channels. Why we need this? Because when we build the installation workflow, we will let the user choose a channel where the birthday reminders will be sent. For that, we will be needing this particular permission. Then we need the Slack app to write messages. That is why chat.write. And we also need the Slack app to write messages in public channels. And lastly, we want the Slack app to have commands so that we can have that command /birthday and then the commands argument. So these are all the scopes that we'll be needing. So we have configured all these scopes here. Once the scopes are in place, then we can go and start working on our Laravel application. So did I save it or not? Yeah, saved it. So let's create a new Laravel application. I'm using Herd on my local development. So I'll start Herd and then I'll create a Laravel application. I don't want to use any starting templates. I'll be using no starter kit. The next, I'll be calling this as birthday bot. So my URL will become birthdayBot.test. And this is the URL that I put here. And I want my site to be here. And then next. What is the issue here? The selected path already exists. Okay. So let's create the app. Now Herd is installing Laravel. It will take a moment. Let's see the output. Application created successfully. So let's close this and my application is now ready and I can access the application with the URL birthdayBot.test. So this is the default Laravel's landing page as of now. Nothing fancy here. Now let's go back to Herd. One thing that is needed is Slack wants you to have HTTPS SSL based URLs only. It will not allow insecure URLs. So we need our birthday bot to have SSL. It already has SSL. Let me confirm here. Yeah. So I already have the SSL enabled here for my local domain. Now,
May I ask a question here,
that we'll
please?
be doing is writing code so that we have a installation button here, install Slackbot button here. And that when we click that button, it will take the user to Slack's website where user can log in with their Slack credentials. And then they will be coming back to our Laravel application to finish the installation process. So this OAuth authentication for this will be using Laravel's own package called as Socialite. Socialite comes with a lot of OAuth providers. Slack is one of the providers that Laravel supports by default. So let's go ahead and install
Hello, Abbas. Am I
Socialite.
audible? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a small question. Like, you create this URL.
Hmm.
So, who create this URL? The Herd created it, or you know,
This is
you?
created by Herd. So what Herd does is whatever folder I have, if my Laravel is installed in birthdayBot folder, Herd automatically creates this URL, folder name .test.
Okay, okay.
This
Thank
is
you.
the feature of Herd.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's open and see how to install Laravel's Socialite package. This package will help us to authenticate with OAuth. So let's copy this and then go back here, cd birthday bot, and then we will require socialite.
मला वाटतं इथे दुसरं गाणं पाठवणार होतं, दुसरं गाणं पाठव.
Just a moment, let me mute people. Is not muted. Yeah. So I have socialite installed now. Now, if you look at socialite's documentation, it supports Slack by default. For this, we need to have all the environment variables, all the keys, app ID, and everything in our environment ready. So let's go ahead and add those environment variables. So let me first open my editor. This is the default Laravel application. Let me now open env file, and then we'll be adding the environment variables provided by environment variables needed for socialite to work. So I already have those variables. Let me copy them quickly. So the first thing that we'll be needing is Slack's app ID. Then I'll be needing client ID. I'll be needing client secret. And I'll be needing signing secret. And then let's open services.php. So when I installed Socialite, it automatically added this Slack service here. However, apart from this notifications, we need to have the Slack app ID and all other configurations present here. So let's copy those as well quickly. So I have it with me already. I'll just copy paste the code so that we don't waste time in writing the code from scratch. So this is the Slack's configuration. The app ID, it is coming from env, client ID, client secret, signing secret, redirect. This is the URL where the user will be redirected back once they logged in on Slack. So they will be sent back to our application at this URL. Then the scopes. This is the list of the same scopes that we added when we configured the application on Slack platform. So we need to use the same scopes in the configuration here as well. Now, what Socialite will do is Socialite will read all these values from this Slack service configuration. Okay. So next, what we'll be doing is we'll be adding an installation link. So let's simply open welcome.blade.php. We want to use the same default page, Laravel home page. Where is it? Here. Yeah, we'll just add an link here, installation link here on top right corner. So for that, I'll be opening welcome blade. And then where's the navigation? Here's the navigation. So I'll just copy the navigation code outside of this if. And I'll then copy the same dashboard link, put it here. Instead of dashboard, I'll call it install Slack bot, birthday bot. And the URL I want for that is /auth/redirect. So once I do that, and once I then go back to my Laravel homepage. I should see install birthday bot link, and it will send me to auth/redirect URL. So now let's implement that auth/redirect route. So let's open web.php and in here let's put route get/auth/redirect, and we want this to go to a controller. So let's first build that controller quickly. So artisan make controller. We want the controller to be inside authentication folder so that it gets created in HTTP controllers. There will be authentication folder here, and then inside that authentication folder, we will have Slack controller. So what happened? Okay, we cannot have this syntax error here. So I create it once again. Controller created successfully. Where is that? This is the controller that was created. Let's create a function called as redirect in here. And then in routing, we will specify that auth redirect should go to Slack controller redirect method. Let me import this, replace this with an import. Okay. So now auth redirect will go to Slack controller redirect method. So now let's implement this. What we need to do here is, here we can use socialite package to redirect the user to Slack's authentication page. So now let's do that. We'll be using, let me close the terminal. We'll be using socialite. Socialite facade. We want to use Slack driver and then arrow redirect. What this will do, this will redirect the user to Slack's platform and start the OAuth flow. However, we want Slack provides two different types of users. One is your application can behave as a bot, that is called as bot user, or your application behave as a normal Slack user. In our case, we want the application to behave as a bot user. For that, Socialite has a method called as bot user. This will instruct Slack that this authentication flow is for a bot user and not for a normal user. Then let's also set the scopes. Scopes are stored where? Scopes are stored in services Slack scopes. This is the file where our scopes are stored. So services.slack.scopes. So redirect is ready now. So this should redirect us to Slack platform. Let's see if this works or not. So let me go back to my browser and click install birthday bot. What will happen? This should use socialite and send me to Slack's authorization page. What happened here? Array to string conversion. Where am I converting array to string? Okay, this should be comma. Let me go back, reload this, click install birthday bot. Oops, something went wrong. Okay. We did create env variables, but I think we forgot to put the actual values in environment file. We didn't put the values. So let's go to our Slack application and let's go to basic information and copy these values. So this is this app ID for my application. So I'll put that app ID in here. Then I need client ID. So this is the client ID. Then I need client secret. And this is the client secret. And lastly, I need signing secret. This is the signing secret. So I'll copy all those values from my Slack application. Now let's go back to our authentication flow. Where is it? Yeah, let's go back. Hopefully it will work this time. Yes, no, it worked this time. Now what's happening here? I'm authenticating and authorizing the birthday bot to be installed on my Laravel Nagpur Slack workspace. So this is that authorization page. When I click allow, what will happen? It will authenticate me in Slack. It will authorize the birthday bot application, and it will send me back to which URL? The redirect URL that I provided. And what is that? The redirect URL I provided is here. This. So now, before we click allow, we need to implement this URL. So let's go back to web and let's create that callback URL. So we'll use the same controller when we will put a new method in that controller called as callback, where we'll be writing our logic. So let's go to that controller and then let's write the function callback, and we'll get the Laravel request here. Now what we'll be doing here? The first thing that we'll be doing here is in authentication flow, when the user comes back to your application, the OAuth provider, it sends something called as authorization code. Then you need to exchange that code and get an access token. And you need to store that access token in your database or somewhere permanent, so that you can use that access token to call the API in the future. All that is handled by Socialite. We don't need to write anything manually. All that code, exchanging authorization code, getting authentication access token, and everything is handled by Socialite package. So let's use Socialite and get the access token. So I can write Socialite driver Slack. I want it to behave as bot user. And then I can get the user. This will not only exchange the authorization code and get access token, but it will also give me the user information from Slack. So whichever user installed the application, I will get that user's Slack ID, Slack username, and everything using this user method. So let's store that in a variable here. Okay. And just to see what comes in that variable, let's dump that variable. Now I'll go back to here and I'll click allow. Let's see what happens. It will send me back to auth/callback route, and then it will fetch the Slack user and display that user on the screen, dump the user on the screen. So I click allow. So here you can see it gives me the access token in token attribute. So this is the access token for the user, Slack access token, that I can use to call Slack's API at a later point. So now let's store that access token. Now, where we'll be storing that access token? We'll be storing it in our database. Now this app, the birthday bot app that we are building it so that it can be installed on not just one Slack workspace, not just for one company, but for multiple workspaces. So whenever authentication happens, what we will be doing in our database, we'll be creating teams, which is Slack workspace, and storing the team where the bot is installed, the workspace information where the bot is installed in our database as well. So let's say when this bot is installed on Laravel Nagpur workspace, then we will be storing in our database information about Laravel Nagpur. So we'll be storing the workspace name, the Slack workspace ID, and other details. So let's create Teams table first. What happened? Got stuck. Oops. I'll go here. I'll make migration and I'll create Teams table. Come back here and then let's open Teams migration. What all things will be stored? The first thing that we need to store is the team. Team means Slack workspace. We want to store its name. So let's say it will be stored in a string varchar field. Then we want to store Teams Slack ID. Slack IDs are generally alphanumeric and they are, I guess, 10 characters long. So we'll be creating a field called as Slack ID. And we want it to be unique because a bot can be installed on one workspace only once. We want a workspace record only once in our database. We don't want it to be repeated. That's why we are making the field unique. Then we also want to store a channel ID where the reminder should be sent. So when the user authenticates the bot, what we are going to do is we are going to build a page wherein we will be showing a drop down with all the channels from Slack so that the user can Slack a particular channel. And in that channel, the birthday reminders will be sent. So let's create a field called as channel ID. Again, channel IDs are alphanumeric. So we are using string. Okay. What else to store here? I believe this much should be good enough. Of course, we forgot token. We want to store the token, access token as well. So access token is a bit long. So we are using text field for that. And access tokens. This should be good. And then let's create team model. Make model team. And let's run the migration as well. A migrate. So our teams table is now created. Now let's go back to our controller callback and continue working here. Now what we want here is after the user is authenticated from Slack, here we want to, before saving this team in our database, we want to first show a page to the user to select a channel. Why we are doing this? So that birthday reminders are sent to that particular channel only. So currently, if you look in Slack, I have 3 channels here, all Slack, Meetups, and social. So I want the dropdown to be built using a dropdown to be built, and these channels should be shown in that dropdown so that I can select one channel from this list, and the birthday reminders will then be sent to that particular channel. So let's try to implement that. So the way to get a list of channels is using the access token. So if you want to get a list of channels, you can use Slack's API. So let's go to Slack's API documentation. Let's look at the methods. We want to read channels, all channels available. In Slack's terminology, the channels are called in in their API documentation, they refer to channels as conversation. So let's search for conversation and see if we can get conversation list. So list conversations.list probably. Here, this is the API call that we want to make. This will return us list of all the available channels in that particular Slack workspace. So this is the URL to hit. It takes the token to for authentication, and then it returns all the available channels in JSON format. To make this API call easy, we'll be using a Slack client, PHP client. So Slack, someone has created an entire PHP SDK to connect to Slack's API. So let's go ahead and install that package first. I believe that is called as Slack PHP API. Slack PHP API. This one. So let's go ahead and install this package. Go back here. Install that package. Using that package is very easy. Let's see. If you scroll down in here, after installing, you just need to create a client object using the factory, using the client factory. The client factory takes your Slack token, and your Slack token is already available where? In the user object. Why is this getting stuck? Just a moment. Let me restart PHP Storm. For some reason, it is getting stuck. Okay. So our token is available in user arrow token. How? Because we already saw. Let me move this to desktop 3. Here we already saw that $user contains the token. Now, if I look at the API documentation, API client documentation, I can create a client like this, and then using that, I can call methods. These methods are named after the same API endpoint that Slack offers. So the API that we are interested in is in conversations.list. So the method for this will be conversations list. So let's do that. I'll copy this code. Let me go back here. So I can create the client using the client factory provided by this, and I can pass in my token. This will give me the client. And let me type hint it so that I can use the autocomplete. So this will be, I guess, something like this. Now to get a list of channels, I can now use client arrow conversations list. This will call this API. Which API? This API, to retrieve the list of all the available channels. So let's dump it for now and see what happens. We will need to go back here and start the authentication process from scratch again. So install bot and then allow. So you can see this is the object of the client library that I'm using. It gives us the channels and it properly gives us the 3 Slack channels. So this was the all Slack channel. Then social channel. And the third one is Meetups channel. If we look at our Slack, these are the 3 channels. So the channels are in the channel property. To retrieve the channel property, we need to use arrow get channels method. This will give us the list of channels. Now let's render the view. Let's call the view for simplicity. Let's call it choose channels and pass the channels array. Okay, I'm keeping the code very simple here. I'm not adding a lot of complexity. Ideally, what can be done? We can create a custom service provider and put all this logic in the service provider so that we don't have to, we can then use service containers, Laravel's dependency injection and all those services resolution logic. But I'm keeping it simple for now. However, we'll be needing this at a lot of place. So let's put it in a common function, helper function. So let me quickly create a helper file. So in here, I'll create a new PHP file. I'll create it in support folder called as helpers.php. And let's put that logic get Slack client. It will take token and then it will return this. We don't need this now. Instead, we can add this as the return value. And then in our code, we can create the client using this. Okay. Now let's build the view quickly. For view, I'm not using any complex layout or anything like that. I'm using a very simple CSS framework called as Pico. So let's do that. Let me go to resources and new, or I will use the artisan command, make views choose channel. This will create this bed file. Let me remove this. For now, I'm not using any layouts, anything, because in the entire application, Laravel application, we will only have one page, one user, one page that the user can see, and that will be the page where they will choose the channel. So let's put the entire HTML code in here. I already have the code ready with me, so let me copy that to save time. We are using a very simple CSS library called as Pico, just to style the page and form and everything. Then we are creating a form. We are posting that form in this route. At this route, we'll be creating this route next. Then we are running a loop on channels and building the select dropdown. And then each option is the one channel. So now if I run this once again, I should be able to see the drop down. However, before that, I have used route function here. So I need to have this route in web.php created first. Otherwise, this will throw an error. It will try to search a route with the name or .create. So let me go here and create a route called as or .create or create like this. Now, what will happen in this create method? This will be the final step wherein we will save the Slack workspace information, token and everything, and the channel information in our database. So the information is not saved in this function, but it is saved in the other function with that we are going to implement now. We are calling it as create. Let's get the request. We can do very simple validation here. We want to validate that channel ID is required. So user is required to select some value from the drop down. Okay. Then we will again, we will need, then we will create the team. So let's say team : create. One thing that we'll be needing is turning off the Laravel's model guard protection. So let's go to team model and let's unguard everything, all the fields, so that we can use create method. Let's include this team model. What are the information in this table? The team migration. So where's the team migration? Here. We need team's name. We need team's Slack ID. We need the token and we need the channel ID. So name, then Slack ID, then channel ID. Channel ID will come from the form that we are validating here. However, right now we don't know from where we'll be getting the name and Slack ID. That's why I haven't put any information, any variable here. And the last will be token. Again, this is not available right now. So token was available in this method, that is before the on the previous page, but once the form is submitted, we are going to a different page where the token is not available. So let's make it available across both the pages. So what we'll be doing here is we'll be simply putting the token in session. So let's put the token in session so that it is available here. Now we can get the token here easily from session. Okay. Now how to get the team's name, workspace name, and workspace Slack ID. So again, we'll be using Slack's API and this library, and then we'll be calling this endpoint teams info so that we get the team's name and ID. So the endpoint for that is, I guess, team info, team.info. Yeah. This will give us the Slack workspace team's ID, team's name, and other information. However, we are only interested in ID and name for now, because that's what we are storing in our database. So to call that API endpoint, we know it is very easy. we just need to use the Slack PHP client library, get Slack client, and token is in session. This will give us the PHP client, Slack clients object. Then using that, we can get the Slack teams information. Which endpoint we want to call? We want to call team info. So for that, the method is team info. This will give us the team information. From that, we want the team property to be fetched. So this will give us the entire JSON, which means this JSON, and then we want the team property. That's why we are doing arrow get team. So now we will have the team object, that is this object in this variable. From that, we want team's name. So it is available in where? Arrow name. So Slack team arrow name, and ID is available in Slack team arrow ID. So this is the workspace's Slack workspace's name, and this is the Slack workspace's ID. Sorry, we cannot directly get the properties. We have to use the accessor methods. So get name and get ID. I know we are going a bit fast because I want to cover a lot and finish this today itself if possible, but I don't think it is possible. It's already 8 p.m. Anyways, what we'll be doing, we'll be finishing the installation process so that the bot is installed on the Slack in the Slack workspace, and then we will continue with the remainder part in the next meetup in the next month. So let's finish the installation part today. Okay. And this is the last step in installation. We want to create the team in our database. Once the team is created, then we can, that means the bot will be installed. So hopefully, are we through with this? So this will create the team. And what else we want to do? Okay, once the team is created in our database, we want that the website where the authentication flow was running, that is complete now. That means the authentication is done, the bot is installed in the Slack workspace. Then we want the web browser to open Slack application if it is installed on our desktop. So like this, like I already have the Slack application installed here. We want it to be, we want the web browser to redirect us and open this Slack application. So for that, the trick is that you need to redirect the browser to a particular URL scheme. So let's build that URL scheme now. The protocol, the scheme is Slack//app. If you do this much, and if you redirect the browser to this URL, this will open the Slack app. However, we don't want just the Slack application, desktop application to open. We want that if Slack has multiple workspaces, like in my case, I have so many workspaces where I'm logged in. This is currently Laravel Nagpur. This is my company's workspace. So let's say I'm here. Okay, or maybe Laracon in workspace. I'm currently on Laracon in workspace. What I want is when the bot is installed, and since I installed it for Laravel Nagpur workspace, it should just not open the Slack application, but it should also switch me to Laravel Nagpur workspace. So let's see if that happens or not. So for that, I need to add information about the workspace here. And that can be added using URL query parameters. So I want to open workspace whose ID is, what is the ID? This ID, Slack ID. So that is available in team arrow Slack ID. Okay. Team means workspace. So this will start Slack desktop application, and then open this particular workspace. But along with this, we also need to pass our Slack. Not just that, we also want that not just the workspace should be opened up, but it should also select the application that was installed. For example, this workspace has these two applications installed right now, Google Calendar. So we want that it should start the workspace as well as select our birthday bot application so that we can see the bot's default home tab inside Slack. So for that, we can pass the team ID as well as the ID of the application. So applications ID is in configuration. App ID. If you remember, initially we put the application ID in here, services Slack app underscore ID. So where is it? Here, services Slack app underscore ID. Hopefully this should work now if there are no syntax errors. Let's see. Team model, create, and everything. Okay, let's try it. So I'll go back to my browser. Once again, I'll go back to this. I'll again start from beginning. Why I'm starting from beginning? Because once in OAuth authorization flow, once you exchange the authorization code and get the access token, that and if you don't store that access token, it is lost. Till now, in our testing, we didn't store the access token at all. That's why I'm again getting a new access token. For that, I'm starting from start. So I'll go to my apps homepage, click install birthday bot. This should show me the authentication authorization screen. Then I'll allow it. Aha. What's that? Call to undefined function. Of course. So we created this helper file and put this function in here, but this helper file is not loaded by default. We have to instruct Composer to auto load that file. So for that, I'll open composer.json and then where's auto load here? I'll add files array and I want to load which file? App support helpers.php. After this, I'll quickly dump the composer so that auto load files are regenerated. Okay, now let's go back here, click back. Hopefully it works this time. If there are no errors, again error. Silly mistakes. This shouldn't be user error token. This should be just token. Again, go back, reload, allow, more errors. Wow. Or invalid state exception. Of course, it is showing this error because I need to start from scratch again. Allow. Aha. This time I got the view page to select channels and I can see all the channels in my drop down. So let's say we want to we want to send the reminders in Meetup's channel. I'll select Meetup and I'll click choose. When I click this, what will happen? It will call this method, this route, create. And this is when the actual team will be created in our database. And it will open the Slack application. It will choose the workspace and the Slack apps homepage. So let's go here. Click choose. The post method is not supported. Oof. The form is posting, but my route is get, so I need to do post. Again, I'll have to start from beginning because my authorization code is used. Allow meetups, choose. Oh. Call to validate. What's the method then? It is not this, it is request arrow validate. Sorry about that. Let me just double confirm once everything is good or not. Get select client. Method name is get select client. Yes. Team info get team. Select team get name, get ID, channel ID, token from session, and then this and redirect. Okay. Let's go here again. Start. Click allow. And then select, let's say, meetups and click choose. What's happening? Where's this form being posted? Auth create. Okay. Auth create. Create. Do we have the route properly? Auth create and everything is here. This is just redirect actually. I think there was a mistake here. That's why it happened. And it probably already created the team in database. Let me open the database quickly to check. Where's teams? Yes, created the database already. So let me delete this row. And commit the changes. So row deleted. Let's start once again. Allow meetups. Choose. This time it worked. This time it showed this pop-up. If I want to open the Slack desktop application, why this is appearing here? Because of this code. And it must have created the team in database as well. So let's open the teams table, reload this. Yes, it created a table. So this is the team workspace name from Slack. This is the Slack ID of this workspace. This is the token, access token. And this is the channel ID of Meetups channel. So our team got created and let's click open Slack. What this should do, it should open the Slack desktop application, switch to Laravel Nagpur workspace, as well as switch to our installed birthday bot app. So you saw from Laracon in, it switched to Laravel Nagpur, and then it selected the newly installed application birthday bot. So this is how a Slack app can be installed in your, you can add authentication flow and install Slack application in your Slack workspace. the next thing that we need to do is build the slash command /birthday thing so that people can add their birthdays. But it is already too late today. So we'll be continuing this session in next month's meetup, wherein I'll show you how you can, in channels, how you can write /birthday and then whatever your birthday is. And this will save the birthdays in database. And then Slack will send reminders to you on your birthday. We will continue this session in the next month's meetup. Okay, so if anyone has any questions for now, please raise your hands and ask away. I'll stop sharing my screen now. Or let me do this. We have that PHP Storm license giveaway contest as well. So let me send the link to you all so that you can get in that contest. Please check chat. So all those who want to get in the contest to win PHP Storm license, please fill this form. And while we are waiting for that, whatever we saw today, if anyone has any questions, please ask now. I know I went a bit fast today because there was a lot to finish. I was under the impression that I'll be finishing the entire application today in 1 hour, but that didn't happen. We only did 50% of the work today, and we'll be doing the remaining work in next month's meetup. So no questions from anyone? Okay, 5 people filled in the form till now. I'll wait for 1 more minute before I run the Wheel of Fortune. In the meantime, I will recap of what we did today. Our aim is to create a Slack application. We are calling that application as Birthday Bot. What it will do, using that application, users of a Slack workspace, they can record their birthdays, and then the bot will send reminders or send wishes whenever someone's birthday happens. This is what we are trying to build. To do this, the first thing that we did was created a Slack application on Slack developer portal. We configured the OAuth 2 settings there. We provided the redirect URL and scopes and everything. Then we built a Laravel application. We used Socialite package to complete the OAuth 2 authentication flow. And at the end of the authentication flow, what we did is we presented the user with a screen to choose a channel wherein the Slack reminders will be sent. The birthday reminders or birthday wishes will be sent. Then we stored the Slack team ID, Slack workspace name, as well as the chosen channel in our database, in our Teams database. This much we have done today, and the rest of the thing will be continuing next month. Yes, Hussein.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for this, Abbas. I wanted to, I was just like thinking more about this app, and I was wondering, if you have tried the WebSocket mode, or what is that called? The streaming mode or socket mode with
This is
Laravel?
not the WebSocket mode. This is the default mode. This is not
Yeah,
the socket mode. Yeah.
I'm
I haven't
aware, but
tried that. I haven't tried that yet.
any thoughts on like Laravel and
I think, well, that mode is used to communicate. That can be done. I think we can use Reverb or something like that for that. I haven't actually tried it, so I don't know. I can't compare how that works with this thing.
Yeah. No, I was like looking for like an opinion on this. I'm
Uh,
aware this is not
Unfortunately, I don't have an opinion right now because I haven't tried the other thing. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. All right. Okay.
If I
Yeah.
try that, then maybe I will be able to suggest.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks anyway. Thanks.
Okay, so let's run the Wheel of Fortune now. Where is the wheel? Here's the wheel. Let me put the names. I have 10 names so far with me. Everyone can see the wheel, right? Yeah, I believe. Let me spin the wheel. Best of luck, everyone. Let's see who wins PHP Storm license. Weber Raj, congratulations. Congratulations, Weber Raj. Weber Raj, I'll be sending you your license to your email in maybe tomorrow morning. Okay. Okay. So that's it for today, I believe. Thank you everyone for joining. You all are great. I have seen many of you join every month. So keep doing that. That motivates me to keep hosting these meetups and running the Laravel Nagpur community. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And I hope to see you all again next month, because we'll be continuing the same topic. We are not done we haven't finished the application yet. It is just 50% done right now. So please join me again next month. I'll be announcing the dates maybe in mid-November, mid-October or something like that. So we'll try to do this before Diwali. Okay, then. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye bye.